What's up everyone, Darcblade here with another video for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. In this video I want to ask you a question. What is the future of Monster Hunter builds going forward? And what I mean is, how would you like the builds presented to you? Because what I'm getting at is, with the introduction of the first title update for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak and the Krios crafting system, builds have pretty much changed forever, and no one is actually going to have access to the same builds, at least not without investing a ton of amount of time and materials into the Krios crafting system. For those of you who don't know, the Krios crafting system allows you to take on these anomaly investigations, and the materials can be then taken to the blacksmith and invested and put back into armor pieces. Doing this can give us new skills added to those armor pieces, as well as new decoration slots, increases to our defenses and more. But the results are random, much the same as the talisman system in Monster Hunter Rise. So you're never guaranteed to get the exact skills that you want. But regardless, as we have access to a ton of potential extra skills on our builds now with this Krios crafting system, it's going to change up build videos quite a bit. And that is really what the question I'm asking today is. How would you like them presented? The random factor of the Krios crafting system will make every single build different from one another. Like I say in my current build videos with the talismans, rarely do we have the exact same talisman, and that's going to be the same with the armor pieces going forward. Rarely will we have the same stats, skills, decoration slots, armor resistances and more on the armor pieces we actually have. So this random factor with the Krios crafting combined with the random factor that we still have with the talisman, it's going to make things difficult to present a concrete build to you. With this title update I was going to start working on my endgame mix set builds, but the Krios crafting has kind of thrown a spanner in the works, so to speak. And so I just wanted to bounce some ideas off of you. First of all, the builds that I could present to you could have no Krios crafting on whatsoever, although once you put Krios crafting on your armor pieces, I don't think you can actually completely remove it. So that's something to be aware of, on my part anyway. And so the endgame stuff will basically be just armor that we can craft normally with no Krios crafting skills, slot decorations, so on and so forth. Although, all this being said, I could just create a duplicate piece of the armor in question and use that in the build videos, instead of the armor pieces that have been augmented and changed thanks to Krios crafting. The other way of doing it would be to include Krios crafting, but not to the point where it impacts the build and takes away and fundamentally changes how the build is supposed to work and operate. So for example, the Krios crafting, there wouldn't be any pieces that featured essential skills such as weakness exploit or critical boosts, stuff like that. So it would still have Krios crafting skills and slot decorations and such in the build presentation, and of course I would put a disclaimer that this is a Krios crafting armor skill decoration slot and so on and so forth, but these wouldn't take away or detract from the essential skills for the build to work that are provided through normal armor pieces. So a lot of these extra Krios crafting skills that are featured in the builds in this format would be a lot of quality of life and extras rather than your must-have skills like attack boost, critical eye, weakness exploit, crit boost, artillery, so on and so forth, depending on what weapon you're using. This is probably the one I'm leaning towards the most, if I'm honest. Although the third idea I've been having is that yes, it will feature Krios crafting as normal, but the Krios crafting will have its own separate section in the video. Like at the moment the video is divided into the actual armor I'm using, the decoration slots, some stats, and then we go over the skills, and then I would add a section on the end going over the Krios crafting section for this build. I think that would probably be the best way to do the absolute endgame builds, but nonetheless I still wanted to run it by you guys and see what you think. So the format for this third option would be to present the build as normal, so we go over the equipment, decorations, then we go over the stats, basic stats, then we go into the skills, then we go into the skills that are heavily focused on the Krios crafting, and then we go into pros and cons, and then we wrap up the build that way. But these builds, the Krios crafting skills that we gain as well as the armor slots, they will have a bigger impact on the build overall, so these would favour absolute endgame builds. So I can imagine by the time that the majority of the updates for the game and the additional monsters that we're getting from Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak will be out before I really start implementing this style of build presentation, if I'm honest. But it still can be done at this point if you guys wanted to see it. Obviously, when it comes to the talismans and how random they can be, you can normally get away with everyone having random talismans, thanks to the fact that there are decoration slots on the talismans that could subsidize not having, say, weakness exploit level 2 actually on the talisman itself. So the talismans haven't been too big an issue when it comes to the random factor. Obviously, if you can get a god tier talisman, it changes things a lot and frees up a lot of options when it comes to builds and creating them. But for the most part, the talismans haven't been too big an issue with the Monster Hunter Rise builds. But this Krios crafting system, it does shake things up. As for the weapon Krios crafting system, that's fine because you can actually select what you want to use, and I haven't got an issue with that whatsoever. And I'll definitely be making use of the weapon Krios crafting system when it comes to these best endgame builds and such. Now, of course, I'm still currently trying to bring out the budget builds, and I'll still be working on those, but I am working on these endgame builds as well at the same time. One of the reasons why the budget build series isn't complete yet, which, to be honest, is a bad play on my part, shall we say. But regardless, I'm still bringing out the budget builds. We're over halfway through on the series. I still hope that they will help some folks out. I know they are a little bit late, but I still want to get them out. And of course, like I said, I'm working on the end game builds now as we speak. But I needed to address and get your feedback in regards to this Krios crafting, because let's just say this title update has been amazing. In all honesty, I love the new investigations, the new afflicted monsters. I love the new additions that have been added, the new armor, so on and so forth. But the Krios crafting armor system and the randomness of it feels like another gacha system in some respect, shall we say. And you're just investing so much time and materials into it to get that perfect skill, that perfect decoration slot, that it's not the greatest system in my opinion. Now, I know with Monster Hunter there has always been a grind factor, and this Krios crafting when it comes to the armor is definitely enhancing, shall we say, the end game loop of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I know the end game loop was a little bit lacking at the end of Sunbreak, and I believe this is Capcom's answer to that, but I don't know if it's the most enjoyable end game loop, if I'm completely honest. And that is a question I'd like to ask you as well. You know, are you enjoying this endgame loop when it comes to the Krios crafting? But like I said, I wanted to get your opinion in regards to the future of the builds that we bring you on Monster Hunter. So please leave a comment down below. And until next time, I've been Darcblade, asking your opinion on the future of builds for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Hope you enjoyed this little video. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.